Well, hello there, YouTube fans. This is Murray Carter from Carter Cutlery. Every year in October, we travel to Japan with a select few. We conduct a cutlery tour there, and we've already posted some footage on parts 1 and parts 2. Parts 1 was a revisit to Mr. Shiraki's bladesmithing shop, a man who I consider Japan's best bladesmith. And part 2 of the 2011 Carter Cutlery Japan tour was a trip to the Tsukiji fish market in Tokyo, Japan. In this part 3, we are going to take you to Kyoto, the cultural capital of Japan, where we had the exquisite opportunity of hiking through the mountains and visiting caves where they have been quarrying natural Japanese water stones for swords and the finest blades in Japan for over 800 years. We got to visit these caves, find out just exactly how these veins of rocks are discovered and how they appear near the surface of the earth and how they're mined. And we got to quarry some of our own stones. And in part 2, we actually bring some of those stones back to my friend's lapidary shop, where we cut the stones and polish them into our very own sharpening stones for our own blades. It's a fascinating series. I'm sure you'll enjoy them. And as always, if you have any comments or questions, you can send them to Murray, M-U-R-R-A-Y, at cartercutlery.com. And if you have any questions about our annual Japan tour and how you might be able to participate, call us at 503-447-1029. Okay, sit back and enjoy the show. Here we're getting some further lessons in what to look for in the very finest Japanese natural water stones. There's some things that just can't be seen or learned about on the internet. You've got to go and get your hands on them and get one-on-one instruction from the master.
There you go.
And here we are coming back from the quarry with these really heavy stones in our hands. We hiked for about 3 kilometers. Here is an exposed portion of rock from a vein of rocks that they've been mining here for centuries. And so sometimes it's not necessary to go dig a cave to look for these rocks. Sometimes they come right up to the surface and they can be mined right here. And then pieces like this are broken off and examined for quality. And the decision is made to cut them into finer parts or not, depending on the characteristics of the part that comes off. This kind of stone surface is called, what was it called? Tatami-jiki? Mushiro-hada? Mushiro-hada, or tatami-jiki. And it's one indicator of the possibility of fine stone structure in the inside. We just took a very long hike and we pulled this pile of rocks from one of the oldest mines in Kyoto. Mines that have been quarrying rocks for over 800 years. Now we're going to cut up these rocks and see what we have. Man, I thought we had a gold mine when we brought those rocks back. It was so hard hiking them up the hills, but I was thinking, oh man, these things are going to be worth thousands of dollars. And Mr. Nakaoka started chopping up these rocks. It was like my dreams were just disappearing before my eyes. Now, this rock was one of the only ones that was worth anything.
He's taking that uncoarse part off?
Yeah.
It's gone.
He said if it's difficult to take off one side, you take it off from the other. You see the nice high-pitched sound it makes when it's wrapped with a hammer. That's an indicator of good quality.
もいけそうですね。
Oh, you can hear that dull thud.
これをどうしようか。
That's not a very good sign.
これ引いてみます。まあここで2枚なんですけどね。
Oh, he said, should we cut into it? I said,
まあ
oh,
勉強のため
yeah, sure. Reluctantly.
ああいいか。反対じゃん。ここ。カラスですね。こ
He
れ。
said, look, that's a good karasu style stone. But at this point, it was so thin, I didn't know if it'd be good for anything.
カラス多いですよ。この石は。でこれがもうパリパリなんですよ。こっち向けの方がいいか。
Oh, you can sort of see layers then, can't you?
でここからはいける。これはどっちから取ってもいいです。でここで切りますよね。でこう2本取ってもいいし。どうしましょう。
そうですね. He said we'd probably be able to get two really thin stones out of that sheet.
こっち側は
He said, but not so sure about this piece. Yeah, no, not good for anything.
もうダメですよね。もうカラスがこう集まってきて、これ降りないんですよ。もうほとんどカーボンになって、チャコールみたいなもんです。でこれは
It's so brown.
Oh,
Did you guys see that? You see that by that split?
これはいい石なの。こう
Wait, yeah, it's just boom, like you talk about layers, but that's just boom.
これもこう取ったとしてちっちゃいレーザーを2枚ね。
he said we might be able to get a little
これ毛を
razor sharpening stone out of this piece.
毛をこれはでここでも浮いちゃってる。
He said, oh, he said I can hear that there must be some faults in this stone.
出てた
Look at that.
これ肌が入ってます。茶色い。もうこうとかね。どうしましょう。
せっかく運んできたから取れる仕事取ろう。
He said, what do you want to do with these stones? I said, well, since we carried them this whole way, let's try to get something out of them.
いやーこれちょっと様子見て
He
ます。
said, oh, this one looks really bad.
わかる。
川にやったやつね。
ちょっとこう入れとるわ。言うたけんどなんやもしれん。遮光より斜めに育ってるのもあるんですよ、石が。中でこうよじれとるやつかもしれない。
You could just hear that there's a big fault in there. There it goes.
Good grief.
傷だらけです。こういうのがあるんですよ。これは
Oh, Mr. Nakoka, mercy, mercy. Stop hitting that with your hammer, please. Yep. Well, we got the exercise of carrying it up the hill at least.
Why there's
Yeah.
rocks everywhere.
I have a much better understanding of this.
斜めになってるのも石が。ですね。やめましょう。
So the whole thing was
お疲れさんでした。まあこれは
He says, well, you got a good stone here at least.
いけますよ。このまま。ちょっとここだけ浮いてるぐらいなんで、これはこのまま作った方がいいし。これもこれが1枚とでこの2枚
Well, that one sounds really
で
good.
きてる。これもこう 最高のカミソリ砥石ですね、これはこれで。これ大体期待終わり。
So this is the step that they would likely have conducted up on the mountain as they were bringing the stones out of the tunnels, and they would do this
色を見るのにこう端っこ
preliminary test on the stones to see if it was worthwhile bringing the whole stone back down off the mountain and to their shop and going through the effort of cutting it up.
これちょっと黒っぽい地味なやつですけどいい石ですよ。どれがいけるか。あ、これあかんねん。
全部ダメですね。外でほぼかこれ。
あれか。
That rock carries just for exercise.
これ石見って言うんですか。石見。
So this step is called ishimi, which is where they look at the quality of the stones and see what they have. Splits the fissures along the natural line of fracture, and then he looks at that fractured surface and he says, "Oh, this piece has got only one, possible problem with it." Then he makes the conscious decision that I'm gonna make this into a sharpening stone and see what I have. This is the first level of discernment, if you will, for what might constitute a nice stone or not. And now we're going to cut it with the carbide table saw. For you safety conscious guys watching this, you'll be relieved to know that that carbide saw blade doesn't cut flesh. It's pretty weird, I know, that it'll cut through stones, but you can put your finger on there as it's running and it won't even cut you. I was really cautious when I used it for the first time, but I discovered that there was really no danger to it as far as skin and bones are concerned when it was my turn to cut with it. Here, Mr. Nakaoka was just telling me, by the way the saw blade was cutting it, that it's a super hard stone. Now this is a round rotating table that's embedded with industrial diamonds, and it's used to do the final dressing on the stone. You can see that water trickles on it from a bucket above, and that is acting as a coolant. It also washes the slurry off the stone. The centrifugal force of the rotation sends all the slurry off to the sides of the bucket. And here we had a chance to try the stone that we just cut. Yeah, I can feel here. Let me have that carbide tip. Okay, Mr. Nakaoka was kind enough to let me use his tools, which at first glance aren't too impressive until you use them and see how his fine-tuning and customization of those tools really makes a big difference. His ultra-fine diamond wheel on that table saw made it really easy to cut this stone. I'd never done it before, but I found it very easy to use the first time. Everything made sense once I got in there and started using the tools. But if we take a close look at the side of this stone where we can see the different layers of the stone, I just ground the surface flat with no regard to what was happening on the insides. And as it turns out, I've cut through 3 or 4 different layers of stone here, but what I need to do is get them all flat down to the same layer, which means I need to take off more stone up here. Because as I come down through the layers, these little holes are exposed, which would inhibit the best kind of sharpening performance from this stone. So to improve on this stone, more material has to be ground off here so that these obvious layers in here are parallel to the top of the stone. Well, I trust that you enjoyed that footage. Wasn't that exciting? I bet you guys are all psyched up to go visit Japan now. We'd love to take you. You know, I speak fluent Japanese and we have a really good time when we're over there. We stay for about 10 days. And be sure to watch part 5, which is a testimonial from the 2 guys who went on our tour last year. And you can also see a lot more footage if you do a search on Carter Cutlery Japan Tour 2010. Okay, until we meet again, take care and God bless you.